guys, today we are showing you our air fryer low carb cheddar bay biscuits in our Ninja Foodi, all while having a whole lot of fun. Nice and crunchy on the outside and very fluffy and savory on the inside. To my camper kitchen. I'm going to begin calling this segment things we weren't going to tape just quite yet, but because you want them, we're making them. And by the way, you see Mike's leg right there? Over there by Octavius. He's over there getting his work done like a good little soldier. But I told him, I'm
making videos.
He's making videos right now, and I told him, hey, while you do that, I was planning on making our low-carb cheddar bay biscuits in the Foodi, and everybody keeps asking us for that recipe and how we do it. I was going to make that for dinner to go along with our low-carb ribs that are thawing right now in the old kernel bucket over here. But anyhow, I said, let's flip on the camera so I can get this up so people can see it, because everybody's been asking. And it really is a basic recipe that is on the back of the Carb Quick box. We just don't use an oven. We're making it in the Ninja Foodi, which has an air crisping lid or an air frying lid on top. So I'm fairly certain that if you change maybe some of the times, you may have to test the time, that this same recipe will work in a regular air fryer. My Foodi cooks about the same as my other air fryers. You could also make this same recipe in your oven if you would like. Crock pot isn't going to come out quite the same if you make it in a regular slow cooker. So I haven't tested that at all, but I wanted to tell you, if you're not eating low carb, most of the recipes that I convert using Carb Quick, a lot of times you could use something like Biscuits instead of Carb Quick, and you could test that out, but I haven't tested that because we eat low carb and we're on the road. So that just gives you all my disclaimers before I get started in all this yumminess. So we were talking in our Foodi review video about how I like to make cheddar bay biscuits, or biscuits that are like, oh my goodness, what is it called? Red Lobster. Oh my goodness. Biscuits that are like the biscuits you get at Red Lobster, but only making them low carb for my family. And so this is how I do it. There, at the very top of my box at least, there is a recipe called cheddar cheese biscuits, and that's what we make. I alter some of the seasonings just a wee bit to give it a little bit more flavor, but here we go. This is what it calls for. 2 cups of Carb Quick with 2 ounces of cold butter crumbled in. So what I did before this, because I didn't want to have to wash my hands and all that stuff again, is I took 2 ounces of cold butter, I cubed it up, and then I ran my fingers through it to really smush it in here. If you have a pastry cutter, you could do that. You could also use your fork to smush it in there. That's just to get that cold butter distributed through. It's still nice and crumbly the way it would normally be. And to that, we're going to add a pinch of salt. So that's going to be a little bit to taste. And then they say a pinch of onion powder and a pinch of garlic powder, and I add probably at least a ½ teaspoon, if not a little bit more than that, because I like them to have a nice flavorful flavor to them. Another alteration that you could do to this is, instead of these seasonings, you could always add an Italian seasoning, and instead of the cheddar cheese that we're going to add, you could add mozzarella cheese and make another kind of cheesy bread. But to that, we're going to add, it's 1/4 cup of heavy cream plus 1/4 cup of water. So I've got a ½ cup total mixed up together here in my measuring cup. And we're going to start stirring this up before we add in our cheese, just to make a biscuit dough. Depending on how dry your air is, you may have to add a tablespoon or a teaspoon at a time, a little bit more water to make your dough stick together. You just need to be careful not to add too much. It does best when it just starts to clump up, but you want to make sure it's all moist, and I'll show you here in a minute. So you want to just keep going until all those crumbs have moisture in them. I may add just like a little bit, but eventually, yeah, I may add a little bit. What you want is you want a dough that will stick together when you press it together like that. That's pretty good. I'm not going to add water quite yet. Sometimes I even add water at the very end if I've got a lot of really dry dough left. But before we get too far in, we want to add a half cup of cheddar cheese. And that's what I got here. I just shredded it up. That's why my cheese shredder is in the sink over here. I'm going to add maybe just a couple more tablespoons worth of cheese. We just like it really cheesy. So now I'm going to stir that in until it's evenly distributed. Okay. So now in my Foodi, I have the actual pressure cooker bowl that's always in it. And inside of that, I have the frying basket. I've made biscuits in my Foodi for well over a month. And I have made it with a pan. So I would butter this pan and pop it down in there. And then I've also made it just flat out in the basket. And honestly, I've gotten to the point where I just like putting it in the basket because I feel like it helps get the bottoms done better. If you do use the pan, an easy way to get the bottoms done is to just flip them over at the end and cook them for another minute, and that gets the bottoms done. But I started really like cooking it in the basket. So we're going to do that. So now this should make, I believe, oh, they're saying 10 biscuits. Well, that would make sense. I like to put in about 6 at a time. So we'll do 6 here first off. So you just make it to where they like to stick together. Okay? And so we are going to put together 6 biscuits. I like to give them a lot of room in there so that the air can get all around them. Now, if you'll look down in here, I think you guys can see how it's getting really, really crumbly. To kind of make that a little less crumbly, I'm just going to add just a little water. Maybe even just a half teaspoon at a time. See if I can get that to start to stick together better. And that really has a lot to do with the fact that it is super dry where we are right now. Yeah. I just don't want my biscuits crumbling apart on me. So I would say, even though this says it makes 10, it probably makes about 8 when I'm all said and done. And I will do those later because I don't want to crowd. I could maybe. No, I'm not going to crowd it. So here we go. We've got 6 biscuits in our air crisper. And I'm going, I don't want that cheese to just fall off there. Okay, so I'm going to close the air crisping lid. And I am going to turn it on, and I'm going to turn it to air crisp, hit to 400 degrees, and I'm going to cook for 8 minutes before I check it. So I'm going to turn this on, hit start, and it's going to cook for me. So I just hit air crisp, I bumped up the temperature to 400 degrees, and then I set the time for 8 minutes. This says if you're making it in the oven, you want to set it for, you want to have a preheated hot oven, and you want to set it at 450 and cook for 8 to 10 minutes. I find that things bake a little bit faster in this, and in the air crisping part of this and the oven part of this won't go above 400. I'd have to turn it to broil, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to just do it on the air crisper. That's what I usually do it on. And let the air flow all around it, and we'll show you what it looks like here in about 8 minutes. Okay, my 8 minutes are up and it's time for me to check and see how these look. I have shot to show you how they're golden brown on the top here. And I'm going to just try and carefully pull one out without burning myself to show you what they look like. I think they're done. They're small enough. Now, if I were to have made that whole batch into only 6 biscuits, they probably would have taken 10 minutes. But as is, come on up here and show you. They're nice and golden. You'll see the bottom has the texture of the basket. If you don't want that, the way you do that is using the pan instead. But I really don't mind because I like that it gets it done all over. And then the cheese pull, I already did it. But if you can see the yummy cheddar biscuit, it's got cheddar throughout, and I'm not showing you. I feel so short. There's cheddar throughout it, and nice and crunchy on the outside, and very fluffy and savory on the inside. This is gonna go perfect with our barbecue pork, our pork ribs that I'm making right now. Actually, while this was cooking, I was whipping up the sauce that I'm gonna pour over the ribs. It's super, super easy because I'm gonna go back here so I feel like I can talk to you. Hang on. So this is making my biscuits and everything cook in the actual same pot. So these biscuits are delicious, perfectly done. I have 2 more to cook. Now, I wouldn't put them on for the full 8 minutes. I'll probably start cooking them and cook them for 4 since there's only going to be 2 in there, and double check it. And then if they need to go longer, I'll add a few minutes depending on how done they look. But I wouldn't put them on for the same amount of time as a full basket. Once these are done cooking, all I have to do is pull out my biscuit basket, and then I can dump my ribs right in with my rib sauce and start cooking them for dinner. So that's one of the reasons why we love the Foodi in our camper kitchen, but it's also a handy tool. We were cooking with it at home too. Just absolutely makes things so easy. But we wanted to get these Cheddar Bay biscuits up on the blog and up on YouTube so you guys could see how easy it was to whip them up. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. If you are not already a member of the Crock Posse, we'd love for you to subscribe and become a member of our crock potting, foodie loving, instant potting, traveling family. By just clicking subscribe, and you're instantly a part of the Crock Posse. If you'd like notified every time we upload a food or travel video, click the ding-a-ling! Click the ding-a-ling. The ding-a-ling. But whatever you do, we hope you
laugh often,
eat good food,
and speak live.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Watch them burn your hand, baby. One more note. It is much easier if you're just using the air frying basket to bake the biscuits to get them out while they're warm than it is to try and get them out after they've cooled and kind of formed to the pan. So pop those babies out while they're warm. Be careful, don't burn yourself. All right, bye.
If you want to see the latest, click on the left right here. If you feel like subscribing, click on the right, my dear. And if you think we're funny enough to send us money, click the Patreon link below.